Exactly, Chris T. Ian is back to preach the good word, and today we're starting with another Golden Films movie. It's not even a religious one like Noah's Ark. No, it's based on some book that I never heard of called the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
So we begin in Paris, France with the opening song number.
Excuse me, Mr. French narrator voice, but I will be doing the narration for this review, thank you very much. Now, please, go back to your Jerry Lewis movie marathon, or whatever it is you people do.
Fan, I will not stand for such insipid stereotypes and ridicule from the like of you filthy Americans. I am much too dignified for that.
Ah, much better. Anyway, we begin in Paris, France, with an opening song number.
Life here in Paris is laughing and play. It's bright and it's light as a chocolate souffle.
So champagne and music and fancy chateaus. And if you can afford it, there's designer clothes.
It's good to see their animation hasn't changed much since the last time we saw a movie from these people. Aside from maybe realizing they need to turn the music down a little bit so you can hear your character's dialogue. Oh yeah, look at that animation. They're certainly going to be reusing multiple times throughout the movie. It just looks so good. Finally, once the song comes to an end, we cut over to the bell tower. Before we can see the titular hunchback, we see these talking cartoon bats.
The bats are in the belfry.
Someone pass a hot chocolate.
Cool it, you dingbat. I hear something.
Apparently we're still stalling to show the title character, so for now, here's the bad guy and his sidekick.
Have I not prohibited all forms of recreation and pleasure?
That you have, monsieur. But what of magic, sir? Is it forbidden as well?
And good to see their iconic wonky editing choices are still on display here. Golden Films never change.
Magic?
I am not keen of mind, but that gypsy woman's instruments, they seem to live.
Okay, thank you for telling the audience all of this right off the bat. Don't save that for some kind of grand reveal later on in the movie or anything like that. Besides, you showed these characters earlier on in the opening song number, and they're also on the cover. So either way, I think the audience is going to know there's going to be sentient instruments in your movie.
Whether she has magic, I cannot say for certain, but I know she has great beauty.
My father, the Baron, will not accept such flagrant disobedience!
Oh, so you're also the son of an overweight baron who likes to eat a lot. Well, good for you, Jean-Claude. Yeah, that's the other thing. His name is Jean-Claude, instead of, I don't know what his character's name was in some other adaptations, like Polo or something like that. Well, no. Golden Films is here to reveal his name was really some generic name like Jean-Claude the whole time. As he takes to the streets, we finally get to see the hunchback only 5 minutes into a 50-minute film, and he's completely normal looking. I mean, yeah, he has a hunchback, but his face is pretty normal-ish. He even has that emo haircut that the girls seem to like. So the whole point of the story is to have a character who appears freakish but is actually pure of heart, and there's a whole lesson of inner beauty and whatnot. But in this version of the movie, he's not ugly. That's, it's a little counterintuitive if you ask me.
Quaz, where you going?
Hey, didn't even give us any breakfast.
Be careful, man.
And now apparently the bats are ventriloquists, since their mouths didn't even remotely sync up to any of that. Look, they're still in the bell tower, and the background is still daytime when it's clearly night in this scene. Seriously, what kind of sloppy continuity error is that? Doesn't make any sense. So Jean-Claude and his sidekick Pierre step into town where a girl named Melody is dancing around with sentient instruments, including a tambourine, an accordion, a violin, and a pair of claspers called Click and Clack. Ha! All the while, the townspeople marvel at her singing and her dancing. Like the story goes, this catches the attention and infatuation of both our hunchbacked hero and the powerful authoritarian villain. Now, another staple of Golden films, reusing classical music that's in the public domain.
We have a problem here. You see, dancing is illegal. Singing is illegal.
Good job, Golden Films. Good job. You never cease to impress me. Just,
Doing anything against the law is illegal.
So after her instrument friends try to stop Jean-Claude through the power of slapstick, he manages to get back on his feet and tells her that he would like to take her to dinner, which she clearly doesn't want to do. And what's his response to this?
Perhaps our friend the guillotine will remove your lovely but ill-mannered head from your shoulders.
Good sir, we went from 0 to 100 really quick on that one. And then, in another example of bad editing, continuity, and, well, basically everything, Quasimodo finally steps into his own story to save Melody from Jean-Claude's acts of tyranny.
Leave her alone!
Chocolate mousse.
Once Melody escapes and regroups with her caravan, they launch into another song with the reused animation we saw at the beginning. Great. 10 minutes in and we're already reusing long stretches of animation in the laziest way possible. Jean-Claude arrives to penalize these people, and as everyone scatters, Melody just continues to smile lifelessly. Yeah, don't change your character's emotion or anything. Because there's no way that that crowd of people could have taken out 3 men on horseback. I mean, even the instruments were able to take down Jean-Claude just a little bit earlier on in the movie. So after a child tells her that she'll be safe at Notre Dame, Melody and her instrument friends head over to the bell tower, and she fails to know the difference between pushing and pulling a door open.
Check it out, dingbats. There's a girl outside.
She looks like she's in trouble. Well, let's let her in.
Yeah. Yeehaw!
Now, boy, I'll have you know that I find that mighty offensive, all right, and quite disrespectful. My culture is not your costume.
The only person in there is Quasimodo, and he just looks scary.
I told you, we do not speak of the monster!
Really, sir? Your own brother.
Oh, and they're brothers too, of course. Let's just throw that into the story as well. From what I can tell, most of these choices aren't even in the original book, so the fact they're even included in this alleged adaptation just feels incredibly forced. They might as well have just made their own original movie instead of trying to make this based on some book that a lot of people have read. Meanwhile, Melody and the instruments get up to the top of the tower, and now the instruments and the bats can have a standoff to who's a more annoying group of sidekicks.
Hey, quick, wonder if they got anything to eat up there. I don't know, let's go see.
Yeah, we got some great munches up here, if you like bugs.
Okay, silly question here, but why do instruments need to eat? Anyway, they work their way up to the bell tower to see the bells for themselves, and Melody finally comes face to face with Quasimodo. Even though this is the first time our 2 main characters are meeting each other, the movie still feels it's more important to show the annoying instruments and their unfunny remarks. And even though he initially hides so she doesn't see how ugly he is, he still manages to give her a pair of bells he made for her, which also come to life. Horrifying, I know.
Everything comes to life around you, Melody.
The two then share a love song together. Believe me, we're not missing much by just skipping it. Melody, somehow figures out that her mother has been taken by Jean-Claude, and they work their way out of the tower.
Mamma mia, she's a long way down.
Mamma mia! Ciao! Arrivederci! Spaghetti! Mario! Papa John! Sabato pizza! So Melody and her musical friends run off to rescue her mother. All the while, Quasimodo just stays there and lets her go. And after all, he is just the title character. Why even bother having him do anything major at this point? They find the mother being held in an abandoned barn house somewhere outside of Notre Dame, and she's making animals dance for her own amusement. They go in to save her, and after an overly long scene of everyone talking, Jean-Claude shows up and kidnaps Melody. Way to go.
When the bells of Notre Dame strike dawn, it's execution time!
The bells tell the other instruments and the mother about her execution, letting them know that they're going to have her killed after the sound of the bells in the tower are rung. So they conceive a plan to keep the bells in the tower from ringing because that will apparently stall out Jean-Claude's plan. And as for Melody, she has another song where she makes things in her jail cell come to life and dance along with her, including the bars on the window. And instead of escaping, she just makes everything go back to being inanimate once her song is over. I'm below 50 IQ, and even I think that's a ridiculous decision.
We gotta stop Quasimodo from ringing those bells. Come on, hurry up. What do? Don't waste any time, come on.
I should have retired last year when I had the chance.
Alright, the movie's almost over, so let's just power through this. Melody is brought out for the execution, Jean-Claude grows impatient and demands the bells are rung instead of just doing the execution anyway, and so Quasimodo jumps in to save her. And then, out of nowhere, this happens.
Are you alright? Oh, you look so handsome.
Perhaps if you see me as handsome, then perhaps I am.
So yeah, that whole moral of the story about inner beauty, and it's not all about what's on the outside, and sometimes it's about what's on the inside that counts, yeah, all that's out the window. Everyone cheers them on, all the while their mouths move with no voices coming out, and the two get together. And now we end with more recycled animation from the beginning, because everything in this movie is awful. We're done here, cut this off. So that was the Hunchback of Notre Dame by Golden Films, and this was bad. This was quite possibly the worst Golden Films we've ever talked about for this show. A lot of the typical elements you'd expect from Golden Films are on display, like the cheap animation, the incredibly flat characters, desperate cashing in on a popular movie, and the nanny state level sanitization to try and make the story more appropriate for children. Why would you make the Hunchback look good from the beginning, and then later have it that, oh, he turns beautiful? And speaking of the Hunchback, he barely does anything in the whole movie. They spent way more time on the obnoxious instrument characters and the talking bat sidekicks. The villain is incredibly one-dimensional, and maybe if they made him something like an atheist, I'd probably get on board with that. You know, slap a little PureFlix logo in the corner. As it stands, he really didn't have any motivation other than he was just some evil authoritarian jerk. And let's not even get started on the instrument characters. They're really, really annoying. And once again, this is another musical where the songs don't feel like they move the story forward. And despite the film being incredibly short and rushed, may I add, it really feels like nothing happened in this whole movie. Mainly because a lot of the animation is reused, so it's like you're seeing the same thing 4 times. I stand by this. This is quite possibly the worst Golden Films movie we will ever talk about for this show. Until next time, may Jesus be with you.
A talking horse?